Hello and welcome to There's No Place Like Summer Camp. I'm your host, Andrew Waterhouse, and in today's episode we're taking a look at the response that I have to where do I see myself in 5 years' time from 2017. So, coming into our tent, and I'll spill the beans. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of There's No Place Like Summer Camp. This is the 85th episode of There's No Place Like Summer Camp, and I'm so happy that you're here. Now, in this episode we are going back to that blog that I wrote back in 2017, as touched upon in a couple of episodes ago, where I discussed the 5-year plan that I had made back in 2017, and I had reviewed that and commented on it in the 83rd episode. So I did hope you liked the episode in between, which was last week, just about the inflation and how that's affecting the summer camps all over the US at the minute. So this is another pullback back to some personal stories, some personal insights, a bit more about me, and basically I have my own author website. It's called andrewwaterhouse.com. You can go and check that out. You can read all my blog posts, but I thought the one from 2 episodes ago was quite interesting because it gave you an insight into how my thought process was back in 2017. I think that was even back before I was actually even doing podcast episodes that I wrote that. So it was interesting to go back, read it, and give that to you guys. And now I've wrote a blog post in response to that 5 years time to see how I've compared since 2017 to 2022. And then I've also added a little bit at the end of the next 5 years. I don't know, maybe it's going to be a regularly occurring 5-year thing where in April of any 5-year interval I'm going to be reviewing my status. So an interesting one for sure, something a bit different, but I think some of the episodes have to be about me and the author of There's No Place Like Summer Camp rather than it all being just about summer camp. Now, before I begin with this episode, I do have to say that things in my personal life at the minute are very up in the air. I would probably think, right, I might as well give you the intricate details. So for a few years I've been renting wherever I've lived. The most recent property that we've been renting has been taken up by the landlord to sell onto the market, because at the minute all the house prices are through the roof. It makes sense to go and sell. So that means that we've had to move out of our home and let them sell it onto the open market. Now, in between those times of where we have 2 months to move out, it's been hectic, but by the time you're listening to this, I think I would have actually been moved out by then. So that means, like, where am I going to be? Because we've been looking on the market to buy for some time, and the COVID situation really put a spanner in the works, because in 2020 we were looking to buy a property, and then COVID happened and it meant everyone had to stay in. Inevitably, it felt like the house prices would crash as a result, and the government put in some special measures with regard to the stamp duty and that sort of thing to help prop up the market, and that fended off a bit of a recession. In 2021, we really should have started to look, but it still felt like COVID was a thing. We were sort of back to settled into our current property. And in 2022, when we got a letter through the post to say that they want to sell and we have 2 months to move out, it was a bit of a kick up the arse to finally get onto the property ladder ourselves. So that's the situation we've been in for a couple of months. Is we've been searching on Rightmove for areas around us that we like, properties that we like, 3-bedroom, semi-detached. Some of them were even detached, some with 2 bathrooms, some with massive gardens, and there's been a whole flux of different ones. But what it's meant in the meantime is there's going to be a period where I don't have access to recording these podcasts, because we're going to be moving in with Natasha's parents temporarily, while we get our feet sorted and are in between property moves. So rather than go and rent somewhere for another 6 months and be in the catch 22 of not quite having somewhere to buy, not quite having the right time to buy somewhere versus not being in the right position to rent. So rather than getting caught out renting temporarily and then moving into somewhere else, we're going to be living with her parents for a little bit. And it makes sense that we just take that minor downtime to be able to explore what we can afford, explore the properties. And I can imagine it's going to be a lot of stress because her house is crammed enough as it is, with plenty of kids around and that sort of thing. And it's going to basically mean that I'm not going to have the opportunity to sit down at a desk, whip out my microphone and talk to you guys. So please be aware that there might be a significant period of time where there's not going to be any podcast episodes or things like that. So what I'm trying to do, I think, in advance is try and line up as many episodes as I think I should, especially those that I think will be entertaining to you guys, anything that's topical and that sort of thing. Try and get ahead of the curve, record them in advance, and then have them scheduled for your listening pleasure. So just a heads up, if suddenly the podcasts do die, that would be the reasoning, is we are in between house moves, and hopefully, at some point soon I'll be talking to you from a new property, our own house and man cave that is essential for me because that's where I'm recording this right now. So let's get back to this episode. This is the response to where I see myself in 5 years from 2017. Okay, that was a long introduction, but I think it's worth having you guys in the loop because it's not just about summer camp. It's about, without trying to sound like an egotistical twat, it's about the author, it's about me, it's about my story, it's about how There's No Place Like Summer Camp came to be. But anyway, let's crack on with this episode. I don't want to go on too many tangents. So, I'm going to read this word for word, and I might sprinkle in a few comments as we go. In 2017, I wrote a blog called Where Do You See Yourself in 5 Years' Time? And guess what? It's been 5 years since that blog. So what better time than now to give it a read over and give my reaction to where I have gone within those 5 years. The article, which I read on my latest episode of There's No Place Like Summer Camp, hey, you guys are getting a little shout out there, turned out to be more of a guiding set of principles rather than actual tangible goals, to be honest. It was a discussion piece about how so many people nowadays are consumers of a capitalist world. How do people do their 9 to 5 only to be a consumer on the weekends? It is so rare that you'd look around and think others around me are adding anything to the world, but just being a customer of it. Now, I must say I stick by that viewpoint from 2017. I don't think I see that changing anytime soon. For some, it's how they brought up, and some, it's the DNA of who they are. It's what they enjoy. But I think for me, it has to be my way of working. I empathise with Fern Cotton's Happy Place podcast, where she often says how if she isn't being productive in some way, it feels like she may as well not be on this planet at all. I get that. It's how I like to run. It's who I am, and it isn't something that I would change. I would just love to see that bit of ambition a little more in the general public. So what's changed since 2017? When I wrote the 2017 blog post, I had That's Your Best Bet. It was a casino website that provided comparisons of bonus sign-up offers for some of the biggest bookmakers in the UK. In 2019, I decided to close its doors, as the regulatory picture was changing at such a pace that a solo entrepreneur couldn't maintain a reputable casino-type website without having a poor experience for its customers. There is also a blog on andrewwaterhouse.com where I delve into more details about that. It's called Dare to Fail. There's No Place Like Summer Camp was coming along well back in 2017. It had just been a shy of a year of work on the book. I had taken it from a diary into a physical book that I could make iterations upon. Fast forward to 2022, and the book's been released. It is available on Amazon, by the way. It would be 6 years of work and wrapping my head around becoming an author until my debut book would release. It showed that my determination and ambition wasn't going to let this book fall by the wayside. I had a story to tell. I was doing this for me, to achieve my goals of producing content rather than always being a consumer. The journey of having the book produced was one of great satisfaction. It's similar to the pictures you see online where someone has stacked hundreds of ladders at the base of a stage, only for one to finally reach the top. It was no smooth, easy ride to release a book. My projects continue to evolve as I seek to grow within myself. Travel problems. In my 2017 blog, I mentioned a great deal about my desire to travel the world once more. And that certainly was influenced by the fact of writing a travel book based on my time at summer camp. Most days since 2017, I was spending my time refining my memories, telling the story of how awesome it is to volunteer through a program like Camp America. It naturally made me reminisce about the stories that I had forgotten, or find the best, most true way to promote how awesome it is to volunteer abroad in the States. Since that time, I've been fortunate enough to travel. There was a coach tour of Europe that I travelled solo through Kentucky. That allowed me to see many sights that few get to experience, like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, the Colosseum, the Eiffel Tower, and the canals of Venice, to name but a few. Then something called coronavirus happened, and the world ground to a halt. Few could have seen it coming, and the devastating impact it had on the world for those 2 years, and still to this day. But with the close friends I have from summer camp, I was thrilled to travel with them also to Prague in 2020. There is a part of me that wishes I was able to travel to Australia for a gap year. Now, the background of why that wasn't possible is for an entirely different blog post, perhaps even a book. But I am grateful for all the travels that I have been able to say I've experienced when it is such a closely held passion of mine. So how does my 5-year plan from 2017 hold up? In my 2017 blog, I said I wanted a big fancy car, or paying off a mortgage in a job that I love. In 2017, I was in a crash that totaled my car. I had my arm twisted to get a new car, and I've been able to pay that off. It's full of the mod cons and is doing the job for which both Natasha and I need, to get us from A to B with Spotify on, aircon and 5 doors. So that's a tick, albeit one that I wasn't foreseeing coming to the December of 2017. As for the house, well, recently we've been on the hunt for a home of our own. For years I've been renting, and it was about time that we got on the property ladder. Now, it's easy to look back at these times and think about all the money that's gone down the drain, but instead I look back at these times as a period of growth. It allowed me to save up and find someone that I wanted to share a home and family with. This time allowed us to both grow and know what we want and where we want to live. Being a regular renter, it is hard to have the rug pulled from under your feet, but the flexibility of renting is what makes it attractive. I've been able to live in 3 properties all around the northwest, each with its different type of lifestyle. And most recently, the landlord of which I'm writing this article has said they want to sell their home, so we need to get out. So that's a bit shit. So mortgage-wise, we're not quite there yet. We're in a market actively looking for properties that tick the boxes for us. The job ambitions have certainly been hit. In 2017, I was stuck. For after summer camp, I was stuck in IT support positions. After my first summer, I had applied to a school as an IT technician so I could apply in the summer of 2015. When I returned from my second summer of volunteering, anyone that would look at my CV would pigeonhole me to only IT support positions. And that remained the case more so when I moved up north. The more I switched roles, the more recruiters and companies would keep me boxed, doing something I didn't have my heart in. And now since that's a different story. With the passion I have for web design, creativity and trying new things, in side hustles I was able to break myself away from IT support to doing websites that I love. Now in 2022, I'm the operations manager for Greenlight Web. I'm steering the ship of a business and I am very happy with the responsibility. So where do I see myself in 2027? Just saying 2027 is weird. By that time, I'm going to be 34. That's old. Hell, even when I turned 21 back in the day, I felt old. And I felt even older when I turned 27. Well, duh, that's just how ages work. But at 34, if I'm not in a home of my own, I'll be questioning my progress. I'd love to have a child or two. The rush to marriage could be there also, but as I've got older, the pressures of modern millennials, that's hard to say, have been proven on my shoulders too. The cost of marriage doesn't align with what I'm trying to do with a family and a home. So the purpose of marriage comes into question, whether I'm doing it for me or for those around me. It's the real problem with the modern world that it's facing today. There's a crisis of inflation as I write this, where prices are reaching a 10% inflationary growth. The cost of living is skyrocketing and wages aren't matching. The COVID pandemic added wood to a fire, and government money printing, which, did you know, around 80% of all money on earth was printed in 2020, only to make the inevitable recession worse. I think that there will be undeniable fraud across a wide spectrum of finance, and crypto will be leading the charge away from this fiat currency where your bank account only gets weaker with age. I think that's about it for what I want to achieve for the next 5-year chapter, to be honest. I'm in a job I love, trusted by a fantastic team where I feel my growth and responsibility to lead. It'll be an interesting 5 years for sure. Will it be a boy or girl? Will my family make the move up north to join me on this journey? Who knows? All I can do is remain curious. Till the next 5 years, A. So I hope you enjoyed that podcast episode, guys. It is a different one. I know these sort of episodes where I just talk shit to you guys is off the beaten track of what summer camp is all about, but I think we've got 85 episodes now, and it's good to have a mixture of content in there that's a bit about me and how I like to think. There are previous blog posts that I've done, but I think I'm going to just keep it to those two as for those blog posts from my own author page. But if you are interested, you can tweet me at AndrewW09. You can also message me through Instagram, There's No Place Like Summer Camp, and we do also have There's No Place Like Summercamp.com if you want to send a form in or if you want to get in touch. It'd be amazing to get some interviews lined up, but like I say, there's a bit of a push at the minute on me with the housing situation, so if I do struggle to get back to you, please bear that in mind, that I am probably in the middle of practically being homeless without trying to ask for any sympathy. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, subscribe, rate on your podcast platform of choice, and I'll see you hopefully in the next episode. Bye.